Hey y'all, I'm Paige Feldman. I'm a writer and director, and here on this YouTube channel, I'm documenting the making of my debut feature as a writer-director. It's called Back to You, and it's a contained romantic comedy. And I am currently in the middle of rewriting it. And I have this is my binder with the script in it. As you can see, there is a lot of rewrite work happening. I've X this whole scene, written a new thing out over there, and it kind of goes forward like that. But as much as I've been doing this work the past couple of weeks, I'm not as far along as I want to be. And part of that is because of the exciting new job that I have writing a feature for somebody else, which I talked about last week, and I'll pop that up here if you want to watch about how I thought I was going to get fired, but then I didn't. It's not also about my fancy new haircut, which I do love, but I also am having a bit of a middle school flashback about, because I'm pretty sure I had the same haircut when I was 12, and so I'm feeling like very young and kind of boyish in a way. But it is like it's a shag, and I based it off of Jane Fonda's hair, so it should make me feel pretty badass. Hey, so it's Paige from the editing room, and I actually did find a picture of myself at 12 with this haircut. Look, there's me with this same haircut. All right. Back to your regular content. It's not about either my new job or my psychological issues about my hair. It's because while I was in the middle of this rewrite, something struck me, and I had to go back to the beginning to add in some plot elements, to seed some stuff for later, and ultimately it's going to be really exciting. But I was so just trepidatious about getting there, and I want to share my whole journey about it, and hopefully it can help you, if you're a writer or any other kind of artist, follow your instincts and do the thing that's maybe a little bit hard, be brave, and make the change that you're kind of scared to make, but you know is going to make things better for you. Because for me, this change is all about being mean to my characters. Being mean to your characters is something that you kind of have to do as a writer. You have to be comfortable with, because conflict doesn't come from everyone playing nice. But it's something that's very difficult for me. And it's not difficult because I don't want to like throw obstacles in front of my characters or watch them get their heart broken or have bad things happen to them. Those kinds of being mean to my characters, while I don't love it, it's something that comes a lot easier to me because I know that those kind of external factors are going to make the story stronger and going to make it more exciting and going to make all of the good stuff, the kissing, the relationships growing, the finding the murderer, the following your heart, the standing up to the bully, whatever that climax is, it's going to make it so much better and so much more satisfying if the character hurt a lot along the way. No, the thing that I don't like about being mean to my characters is making my characters do stupid things. Now, part of this stems from the fact that I've seen so many movies where you're just sitting as an audience member and you're just yelling like, why are you running up the stairs? The killer's gonna find you and corner you, and then you're gonna die. Like, go out the front door, it's open, it's right there. And yeah, I don't ever want an audience to be watching a movie that I have written or directed or both and be shouting about how dumb the characters are. It's not just horror films. It's also can be manifested in romantic comedies in a way that, let's say there's a misunderstanding that is the basis of the plot. And the misunderstanding could be cleared up with a 5-minute measured conversation between the protagonist and the love interest or the antagonist, however you want to phrase it, and yet they don't talk. And so what would have been a short film if people had just behaved like rational, mature adults turns into a feature film where you're just watching people avoid talking to each other, which, especially in a romance, so not romantic. Relationships are all about like trust and bonding, and if they're not talking and they're not fixing this misunderstanding, then it's all just a lie. And it's not cute and it's not sexy. And speaking of lying, I also hate when people just lie and to heighten things, and not to further a goal or to meddle, but just kind of to make their life easier. It's frustrating. It's frustrating to watch as an audience member because you just watch people make bad decisions, and then at least for me, I just sit there and I get this full body cringe on. It creates manufactured plot and manufactured drama when really for me, the most interesting kinds of drama and plot are when you have people being fully honest, fully themselves, fully believing that what they're doing is right and they're doing the good thing, and those values and those actions clash on some level. And so you have people being real with each other, but being real in a way that means that they're going to butt heads. They're going to create conflict. They're not going to get along until they learn to empathize with each other and really figure things out. As a result, because of all of these tastes, my goal as a writer is always to have my characters be behaving in a way where they believe that what they are doing is correct, right, good, and upstanding. I feel that's an admirable goal, and let me just like pat myself on the back a little bit for that there. But what that leads to, and what that can lead to for me, is me writing characters who are so morally rigid and upstanding and good that they don't show their flaws. And I don't let them show their flaws, and I don't want them to do things that make me feel like, why are you making that decision? Like, not in a you're dumb, you're gonna die way, but like, yes, I get it, but it just breaks my heart. And I'm a huge proponent of characters being relatable more than likable, and I should really do a video on that sometime about what I mean, and when I do, I'll dump that up here. If it's not up there yet, then I'm just pointing at nothing, and I haven't done it yet. So maybe, drop me a comment, leave me a reminder about that. Regardless, even though I'm a huge proponent of that, it sometimes is difficult for me to have my characters do something that feels just painfully relatable. Because the cringe factor, I want to avoid it, but I know I can't. However, there is a part of me deep inside, in my brain, that knows that I need to do that knows that I need to just take that step. And so as I'm writing, that little part of my brain, this little like chaos gremlin that lives inside me, will leave little writer breadcrumbs for me to guide me to those decisions as I get through the rewrites and get more comfortable being mean by giving my characters little ways to do some devious machinations. And during this rewrite, some of those breadcrumbs just hit me. And that is why I had to go back to the beginning. And because I'm super into full transparency here, I'm going to explain to you what I mean as far as those breadcrumbs go, what I found, and what I'm doing now, so that not only can you get a little bit of more of an inside look into this movie, but also you can see, I can show you what I mean by my characters making cringe-worthy, relatable decisions that also aren't stupid. And by the way, when I'm talking about stupid, I don't mean like all of my characters need to be rocket scientists. Even though one of my characters in this movie is a rocket scientist, it's not that at all. I love a good himbo, I love a good bimbo, I love a ditz, I love all manner of silly, not super book smart people who are kind and caring and mean well in many other ways. Those kinds of characters are fantastic, and they are also comedy gold. No, I'm talking, when I say stupid, I'm talking about people making decisions against their better judgment, decisions that would make anybody cringe with, oh my gosh, this, like, there's a trope in romance novels, it's called Too Stupid to Live, like where a character just makes a decision that just like takes logic out of it. Like the logic is like over there, you can't even see where I'm pointing because that's where the logic is. It's out there, it doesn't make any sense. So it's not about anyone's intelligence or IQ, it's about ability to form decisions for their lives that have some tie to rational logic. Any tie to rational logic. Okay, and now as promised, I am going to take you through my whole decision-making process about how I found the breadcrumbs and how I followed them and what they actually are. And to start off, I'm going to give you a brief synopsis of this script so you can stay with me this whole time, because if you don't know it, I'm just gonna be throwing names and stuff at you and it'll be like, wow, this is boring. But I'm letting you in. So Back to You is about two people, Mitch, short for Michelle, and Ash, short for Asher, who, when Mitch was 18 and Ash was 21, they hooked up at Ash's grandmother's desert home. Ash's grandmother's name is Bubby Esta, and Mitch lost her virginity to him. She was in love with him. She told him he couldn't say it back, even though he did feel the same way, but feelings are overwhelming and scary. And they parted on terrible terms. Mitch was a songwriter, and she wrote a song about his rejection of her that ended up being a #1 hit and ruined Ash's love life throughout his 20s. And for the next 18 years, essentially, because we meet them 18 years later at Bubby Esta's funeral. Mitch is, by her friend Alana, told, hey, you can use that desert house to write a song, because ever since Ash rejected her and that song came out, she's been, she's gotten some B-side stuff done. She has a decent, living, but she mostly has been substitute teaching. Ash, on the other hand, finished college and is a rocket scientist, so despite his terrible social life, he's doing really well for himself professionally. But Mitch has a huge meeting set up with a record label, with an A&R guy who's looking for songwriters to add to their stable, and Mitch needs a new song to send to him in order to prep for this meeting. She needs some time to write, and so Alana is Mitch's best friend, Ash's cousin, says, hey, you can use Bubby Esta's desert house. No one's going to be there while we're sitting Shiva, which is the 7-day Jewish mourning period after someone dies, after the funeral. And so Mitch goes. Ash ends up, because his whole thing is that he feels like he's misunderstood, like he's the black sheep of the family, that he's really smart, he thinks differently, he's not quite sure how he fits in with all of his people, and just wants to get away. He doesn't want to be part of this whole grieving process, especially because he believed that Bubby Esta was the only one who really understood him. He runs away. He doesn't want to really acknowledge the fact that she died, and she left him this list. It is a list that she said, I didn't get to do all of these things. It's like a bucket list sort of thing. I want you to do them for me. So he has this task, this list of things that he has to do. And so he figures he's going to go to the desert house, because some of them involve the desert house specifically. He's going to go to the desert house. He's going to do them. And then, once Shiva's over, he can resume his normal life and kind of figure his shit out. Then Ash and Mitch are there at the house together. They fight, then slowly start resolving their differences, resolving all of the issues that have been kind of plaguing them for the time that they were apart. And Mitch helps Ash with the list until Ash discovers that Bubby Esta was actually meddling with him. This list was something she created to help him open up to people, and he doesn't like being forced into things being fixed. He feels like everyone's trying to fix him already, and she was the only one that didn't. He gets mad. He realizes that Alana was helping Bubby Esta pass this list on to him, and so he calls her and he's like, what did you do? Did you send Mitch over here thinking I was gonna come and blah? And Alana says, no, not at all. And they end up making up. Ash and Mitch, obviously they had a fight, and Mitch leaves, and at the end, Ash kind of figures himself out, figures out it's okay to need people, to want to let people in. Mitch finds the strength to really stand up on her own convictions and share her own feelings, and she performs for this A&R exec, and in the current draft, he doesn't hire her for the job, but says, hey, I think you should work with this performer. She gets a win, but it's a smaller win, and then she and Ash get back together, and all is right with the world, and love prevails. So that's the story. And the thing that I want to focus on is the fact that in this current draft, Alana helped Bubby Esta create this list, but she had nothing to do with Ash and Mitch getting together, had nothing to do with them being together, and Ash was wrong to think Alana even wanted to help make them come together. That, my friends, is the breadcrumb I left for myself. Because I'm sure after hearing that you think, well, obviously Alana did something. Obviously Alana drove them together in that house. That's the obvious thing. She's the one who'd made the list. She's the connection between the two of them. She sent Mitch to the house. Ash had to go to the house for the list. Obviously Alana meddled. But I didn't have her meddling. I didn't have her meddling at all. I just thought, oh, it's a coincidence, because sending two people to that house who, hate each other and have that history, that's just so mean. Why would Alana do that to her cousin who's in the middle of grief, and her best friend who's on the verge of this career-changing opportunity? That's just mean. She wouldn't do that. Except all the breadcrumbs were leading me to do it. And it's not just all of those plot things. It was that I've gotten notes back that say, Alana's such a great character. I wish we could see more of her. And at a certain point, as I was doing this rewrite, it's not even at a certain point. I got to the point where Ash is trying to make Mitch leave the house because he just wants to be alone. Mitch finds a reason to stay. Not because she wants to stay with Ash, but because she wants to annoy him and thinks that he's not using the house for the right reasons. And she needs it, and she was given permission to be there. I got to that scene, and there's a fundamental problem with it. And it's a small problem, but it's a weird problem. And that problem is that in the scene before that, which in story time takes place about 8 hours earlier, Mitch had taken a shower. The scene where Mitch is like, oh no, I'm staying, also had her taking a shower. I know literally nobody who would go to sleep one night, take a shower, go to sleep, wake up the next morning, not do anything, not work out, not do anything that requires any sweat, not be laying in a dirty tent, just laying in a clean house with air conditioning. No one would wake up and take a shower. Again, I don't know anyone that would do that who didn't have serious, maybe like cleanliness issues of some sort. And Mitch doesn't. No average person would do that. And so I realized I have to change the scene because the previous scene with her taking a shower is they're meet cute and it's pretty important, and I think it works really well. And the scene I didn't really like anyway. So I was sitting there thinking, well, what would make her stay instead? Because the way that the scene is structured, even if I had her doing something else, the towel part of the shower was important. It was just overly long. It wasn't working. And that's when it clicked that Ash had run away from his family and not told anybody. And people would probably be worried about him, including Alana. And so Alana knew that he had that list. Alana knew the list had things that he could do only at the desert house. Alana knew Mitch was at the desert house. She calls Mitch. She says, hey, is Ash there? And Mitch says, yeah, Ash is here. I'm leaving. I can't. And Alana begs Mitch to stay and look out for Ash because he's not answering his phone for any of his family. They're all grieving. They're really worried about him. If he won't go home, if he won't talk to them, at least Mitch, can you stay there, keep an eye on him, make sure he doesn't hurt himself. Now, Alana knows that Mitch probably won't hurt himself, that Ash probably won't hurt himself. Alana knows that Ash has a list that has things that he needs to do on them that are at the desert house, and a lot of those things require a partner to help him do them. And Alana knows that he and Mitch have fostered feelings for each other, which is something that's also apparent in the very first scene at the funeral. Alana notices them looking at each other across the room. So now, instead of being just a true noble friend and cousin who is wrongfully accused of pushing two people who hate each other together and who have bad history together, she's now a devious little fairy godmother who has one more scene in the script to appease the note giver who liked Alana, but also to give her a larger presence throughout the story, because when I start casting this, an actor who plays Alana is going to want to feel like their role is integral to the story, even if they're only in 4 scenes, 5 scenes tops. And now they really will be. And making Alana that devious fairy godmother who brings two people who hate each other together, forces them to share proximity, and knows that they're going to have to work together, spend time together, and hopefully get over themselves because it's her favorite cousin and her best friend. It sucks she can't hang out with them at the same time. I don't really know why I didn't think of doing this sooner, except for the fact that it makes Alana devious and it kind of makes her mean, and you don't like her after this, and that's okay. It's okay not to like a character. It's okay. I'm telling myself as well as you. But as much as Alana's actions make me cringe and make me think, oh, that's so mean, why would you do that? I'm following all my rules. She is not lying or meddling in an obnoxious way or lying unnecessarily. She is creating a problem that could not be solved with a quick conversation because neither Ash nor Mitch have all of the information, and there's no reason that they would ask Alana or be aligned against her at this point when they're both so focused on their own goals. And Alana is also doing this for noble reasons. She is greasing the wheels to help her dead grandmother's wishes, because this is her grandmother too, and trusted her with this task of giving Ash this list. She's ensuring that her dead grandmother's last wish is going to come true and is greasing the wheels for that to happen. Now, Baba Yesta didn't necessarily need Mitch and Ash to be together, but she did want Ash to work together with somebody to complete these tasks, and one of the tasks is fall in love. So Alana kind of sees a way forward here that is for benevolent reasons ultimately, even if she's a little devious fairy godmother about it. More importantly, her actions now serve as a catalyst for Mitch and Ash to stay together in a way that's much more relatable and interesting and just better written, frankly, than the incident that I had earlier. And it's going to create an extra hit of conflict at the end, because instead of Alana just being able to deny to Ash, she's going to have to come clean to Ash and Mitch that she set them up to be together. And I'm really excited to see how that plays out, because I currently don't feel like my ending is as strong as it could be, and I think this extra hit of conflict could make all the difference. So that's what's in store for me right now, continuing to follow these plot breadcrumbs, getting back on track with this revision, and hopefully finishing this draft at least in the next week or so. And when I finish that next draft, in my break, I'm going to be thinking a lot about the proof of concept script and getting that set up. And incidentally, I'm also still looking for a songwriter to collaborate with. So if you or anyone you know is a Jewish woman songwriter, hit me up either in the comments below or in the description below. There is a link to my website and the contact page where you can contact me. And that's all I got for you this week. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next week with more of Cake Fight Presents The Making Of.